Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. I'm your host, Chris Fuller.
And I'm Marc Hyde.
And on today's episode, we're going to be asking the question, am I spiritually ready? A look at Matthew 25, 1 through 13. This is actually the parable of the 10 virgins, the 5 wise, the 5 unwise virgins.
Oh, we're going to be talking about sister wives tonight.
We're going to, maybe a little sister wives, but the real thing is like a virgin. Oh, sorry. Bad. Can't go anymore.
Wow.
Can't go any further than that.
How about this, buddy? You ready? Let's go.
Let's go. All right, that was very short.
What just happened?
Like a virgin.
I don't know what song.
Everybody, you don't. That's Madonna.
Is that? I mean, I feel like if I heard it played, I would know what it is.
All right, I'll sing it, but it's all right.
Geez.
I need all of our listeners to close their ears right now because it's not appropriate for the podcast.
I just killed the music.
Why did you kill it so fast?
Because I want you to sing, and then we'll make the music start again. We'll have extra long music time.
Like a virgin being touched for the very first time.
No, I muted you, homie. No, that was weird.
I told you.
Back to happy music.
I told you it was explicit, okay? It was explicit content.
We promised so much, guys, that we love Jesus.
We do.
We just had an hour-long conversation about loving Jesus.
But when I talk about, like, the virgins, that's always the song that pops in my head. I don't know why. It just does.
That does not pop in my head.
It's an 80s song.
Well, welcome back to the show, everybody.
What's going on, people?
Bro, I don't know how to segue off of what you just did.
Yeah, it's a hard one to segue from, but we had a very interesting conversation last week, the couple of days before Halloween.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, 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 bum. So hopefully this one's a little bit more, I don't know.
They're always good, brah. Brah. I'm gonna say brah. It's always good, brah.
It's because we're talking about virgins, isn't it?
Janelle, he has come unhinged. Something, bro.
Sorry.
What is up with you?
I don't know. It's the coffee or the lack thereof.
This is a different type of hot garbage, I have a feeling, than what the review is supposed to be.
Well, we can't go that far yet.
Oh, my bad.
We've got questions to answer, sir.
So over on Instagram, which I will admit, I have not been very active at running our Instagram as much because we've been pushing Facebook. Facebook group is just so much fun.
I haven't really been very active at all. I've been struggling to keep up with emails and texts.
Homeboy, you've been keeping up with all that. I haven't.
Holy moly.
I've been keeping up with Facebook group really well.
I'm here for it, but just forgive me when I don't get back to you right away.
So on Instagram, I said, hey, we're going to record here just a little bit. What should we talk about at the top of the episode?
Ooh.
So we have some different things to talk about. Some are funny, some are serious, and some are...
All right, let's rapid fire.
I'm curious. So the first one is the Bills-Rams game, the NFL. Now, obviously, the date of recording is September 9th. So the game's already passed.
I didn't watch it. I have no idea what that.
Do you even watch NFL? Like, do you follow NFL at all?
I don't. I'm a Bears fan.
My hair's all poofy.
But I'm not like a diehard like NFL fan.
We both cheer for one team, in football.
Yeah.
Go Irish.
Hail Notre Dame.
Hail Notre Dame, baby. But so for the Bills versus Rams game, who's going to win, boss?
Rams.
I don't even know.
I don't know. I'm gonna go Rams.
I'm gonna go Bills.
Go Bills. Okay.
Go Bills.
There you
go. Okay, here's another one. So the minuscule loan forgiveness plan. What are your thoughts about it, buddy? We hinted at it last week. Both of us do believe that it's not a forgiveness; it's a transferring because somebody's got to pay for it.
It's a transference. It's what's it? I can't think of the word. It's a Christianese word. It's a theological term that Christ did for us.
Propitiation?
Yes, thank you. Propitiation.
Okay, I'm like, where are we
it's
going
a
with
propitiation of the loan, right?
There you go.
Because that's what it is, bro.
PPP loan. Propitiation loan. Now, I will say this, okay? Now, do I believe in some sort of like loan forgiveness program? Do you know there already are loan forgiveness programs out there? Like, we had friends of ours where, like, they were lawyers and they were public servant lawyers. And if they served as a public servant lawyer for like 10 years, their debt was instantly wiped away.
Yeah, because you're paying it off, because you're paying a public. It's just like if you, at Pensacola Christian College, if you sign an agreement to after you graduate to work there, I think it's like 2 years, like full-time 2 years. They pay for all the college.
That's really cool.
But you have to sign the agreement.
And this is the thing. So even before we get into the loan program, I do, honest to goodness, think the cost of college is getting ridiculous for state schools.
The cost of
Purdue is like $45,000, dude.
The cost of everything is getting ridiculous.
It's true. It's very true. But there are still ways to be wise with our money. Sure. And I do think a lot of times we push kids to college and not be wise and not go for scholarship. Like one of my former students, she went to Trine University, sure. which is a private, not Christian, but just a private school. Mm-hmm. Costs a lot of money to go every single year. I've never seen somebody grind as hard as she did to work to get her scholarships and jobs, and she's going to graduate with very little debt from that place. And I'm like, good for you. And I have another one of my former students is a Notre Dame student who has grinded at her scholarships from Notre Dame. Probably going to graduate with little to no debt from the University of Notre Dame.
Here's my take on it. Right?
Okay.
All right. Where's my mortgage forgiveness? Do I get a mortgage forgiveness? Like, they're going to forgive some of my mortgage?
Nope.
Are they going to forgive some people's car payments?
Nope.
How about credit cards?
That'd be nice. That'd be real nice.
But I took out those loans.
And I think the idea, though, is the fact of, and again, now,
so that's
we're talking to people from two different walks of life with education, right? Like I graduated with an undergrad and a master's degree with virtually no debt. I pretty much had no debt when let me rephrase it. When I graduated from each place, I had paid off my undergrad debt, which is a little bit, and I graduated debt-free with my master's. And you're a blue-collar guy. Now, you did go to college for a bit.
I went to college for 5 years and walked out of there with
nothing.
No
big old goose egg.
No degree, but $35,000 worth of debt.
And you grinded to pay it off.
I grinded to pay it off. And I was paying the whole time I was going to school. Like the first 2 years of college, I paid cash for. And so $35,000 was for the remaining 3 years.
So do you think that there should be some loan forgiveness program in general?
No.
And then the other question that
because you are the one that is choosing to do that. There are other plenty good blue collar jobs, as I'm proof of,
or scholarships, or join the army,
scholarships. There's tons of different ways you can do it to minimize debt or come out with no debt if you choose to go to school. But I do not think that everybody has to go to school. I think that's a misnomer that the society has pushed on people.
And I think we're just also not wise with our money too. Like we have like our generation, millennials. Which before you blame a millennial for bad money usage, someone had to teach us how to be bad with our money. But I do think that we throw money around like nobody's business. However, I'm also not going to fall into the other trap of always complain and we can't pay anything off and stuff is too expensive because, you know, you're working in like I don't want to like hate on minimum wage jobs because we both worked them for years.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
But at the same time, we're in the lane of opportunity and you can go do something. Why do you have to start off with the degree, the $400,000 house? Like, there's no shame in buying a mobile home. There's no shame in buying a double wide. There's no shame in living at home for a little bit, you know, for a couple of years to get some, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we want the end result without the grind.
Do what you feel that God is leading you to do, whether that's go to college, not go to college, work at McDonald's and make a career out of that, or go work at a law firm in New York and make a career. It don't really matter as long as you're doing what the Lord is telling you that you should be doing.
Now, there is a quote that I thought was super, super dope. All right, so in the Facebook group, I asked a question of, I'm a sucker for quotes. What's your favorite quotes? And my boy Matt said, anything you've said, Mark. Bromance is strong, baby. Bromance is strong.
He's just looking for free swag.
Yeah, but let's be honest, though.
I control the swag.
You know, the best part of waking up is not having Folgers in your cup. But one of the quotes, where's that one quote that I thought was absolutely fantastic? Oh, here it is. Thomas Edison quote. Drake put this in. Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. I really like that quote a lot.
I wear an orange shirt.
So loan forgiveness program, should we just forgive everybody $10,000? No, I do think there's something to be said about putting in like a lot of volunteer hours and like, you know, giving back to the community. And maybe that's a way kind of like to help pay off your loans where it's like, hey, if you've been a faithful steward of just being a good person, we'll help you out. Now, there are a lot of places though, like Australia, where public college is just free. And they work that into their system and their laws and whatnot. Sure. But for America, I am one where I don't think we should have just wiped away $10,000 worth of debt because here's you made the choice to go to a butt expensive college. You learn to make the choice and stick with it.
Even a cheap college, right? It doesn't matter. Let your word be your word is what the scriptures say, right? If you say you're going to do something, you follow as a Christian, you follow through and do it. If you take out a loan, you're saying I'm going to pay this loan back.
Now the Bible does talk about loans and that maybe we shouldn't take out loans because you become a slave to the owner of that loan.
Right, but that's for a different day.
Different day.
So all right, what's
another one is candy.
Like favorite candy?
I don't know. Here's a go. Do you like candy or chocolate better? 1, 2, 3.
Candy.
Yeah, we agreed on something, guys.
It's about time. All right, show's over.
All right, so what candy is your favorite though?
If I have to go,
no, just say, hey, bruh, can I pick up some candy from the gas
Skittles.
station?
Taste the rainbow.
100%. No, the red bag or the purple bag?
Purple.
Ooh.
Tropical, dude.
Ooh.
The tropical bag. Come on up high.
I mean, I'll give it to you, but my favorite is the
OG?
classic OG Skittles. What's your second favorite candy from the gas station?
Oh, probably hot tamales.
Sour gummy worms.
You line up with Janelle. She likes the Sour Patch Kids, though.
Ooh.
She's a Sour Patch Kid.
So
little
what
sweet,
you're saying
sour.
is that when you first meet Janelle,
She's sour and
gives
then
you a
she starts
sour
sweet.
taste, and then she's really sweet.
No, that's probably me. I give you the sour taste, and she's the sweet.
She's just super sweet. Let's just be honest. All right, next one. Beth's pregnant.
What?
She put it.
Did she
I'm
really?
allowed to say it. Look. Yeah.
That's
Side note, we
funny.
are pregnant. Time of recording, we're like,
Yay.
oh, shoot.
I mean-
13 weeks? 14 weeks?
I mean, I've known about it, but yay! It's
And
officially
guess what?
announced.
We know what the gender of this baby is, too.
I do too.
It's
'Cause
it's a boy.
It's a
We're having a boy, which means Elliot is finally not the only boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say
He
because
finally has a brother. You know, he already has plans to put the baby brother in his room.
Dinosaurs and cars and Paw Patrol.
He picked out the lovey, the stuff with Beth. Like
Nice.
homeboy has been inseparable
it.
from Beth. He's like, we having a boy. We gonna do this, Beth.
Let's
we gonna
go.
do this.
Let's go.
So he has a brother. Finally.
Sweet.
So he's excited about this. All right, last one is, what's a conspiracy theory that you actually believe?
Okay, so
and you said you have one.
I have one.
Just,
So you need time to think still.
I don't know if I got one,
All right,
man.
so the one I have, I actually did not have until I started smoking weed. But anyways,
Whoa, wait, what?
yeah, it was one of those back the old Chris days.
Getting high with the most high. Wait,
But
what?
I have never looked into it past those days, so I still kind of believe it.
Okay.
Right? And the conspiracy theory that I believe is Bigfoot is real.
No, shut up.
Bigfoot
No,
is real.
come on.
There's just so much
Really?
evidence out there, man. And I don't know, maybe I was just high when I was looking at the evidence. That could be
Bro,
too.
you can only believe Bigfoot is real if you're doped up. Like,
Well,
you got to be
I
on
was.
shrooms to believe that, man.
I used to do the Yeti calls, but I swear that I used to see like the swamp Yeti, the swamp ape out in my backyard
this
in
is
Florida.
a joke.
Again,
This
I
is
was
a
high.
big, fat
I was
joke.
very high, so it could be it could be that. So yeah,
That's a big, fat joke.
that was mine. What's yours?
That Elvis and Tupac actually died. They're down in Cuba.
Oh, didn't it die?
They didn't die. I think they're still alive.
Cuba?
Down in Cuba.
Oh, Graceland.
I mean, that's just that's a joke. That's a complete joke.
Yeah, I figured.
They're dead.
Yeah, they're dead.
But no, but when it sounds like conspiracy theories, like have you seen the documentary on Netflix? I have not, about like the family, like that Christian family that basically runs the world and they're always everywhere, and like the politician pictures and stuff like that.
The Rothschilds?
No, the family.
No, I have no idea.
The
Netflix?
family. Netflix.
We are the family.
The Family is an American documentary streaming television miniseries. The series examines a conservative Christian group known as the Family or the Fellowship. Its history and investigates its influence on American politics. Like, that's one that a lot of people believe. I'll be honest, people might not like me, but I don't really got time for the QAnon stuff.
Yeah,
I really don't.
I don't either.
I really don't.
That's
How about
okay.
this? The only conspiracy theory that I actually believe in is anything you see in National Treasure.
What, like the Book of Secrets and everything?
Yep.
The presidential Book of Secrets?
Yep. And how on the back of the Illuminati.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
Janelle's your best friend now.
Yep. No, I actually don't. That's
She
the
is
thing,
so
dude.
into the Illuminati.
I got 7
She is
freaking
so-
kids. About 8. I got 8 freaking kids. You think I got time for conspiracy
You've only
theories?
had 8 kids for 2 years, so
I'm
don't even
wiping
start.
butts, bro. Like, I ain't got time for conspiracy
You
theories.
did back in the day? Come on now. That's only been for 2 years.
But even then, I was so focused on just what has to be done right here, right now in my neighborhood. Like,
Okay, so conspiracy theory. Do you think Mr. Rogers was an American sniper?
yeah, I do.
See, that's conspiracy.
Is it really?
It is.
That's not a fact?
Because some people deny that was true.
Shut up. Really?
They say that it's not true. Look it up. That's conspiracy.
People think that he wasn't?
Yeah, that he was not. Look it up.
Wasn't he like a Marine?
I thought so.
Navy?
But yeah, there was an article I read not too long ago that talked about that's just a conspiracy. That he was not a sniper. Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, he was.
Welcome to my neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers wasn't a sniper or Navy SEAL. Here's how that myth started.
See?
It's a myth.
See? You
Load of
believe
crap.
You believe in a conspiracy.
No. They're saying the myth is the fact that he was not.
Oh, okay. I thought it was that he was.
No, so people are saying, so he actually was a sniper, but people believe the myth that he was not, right?
I don't think so, man.
I don't know.
I always
thought he was a sniper in the Marines, right? Oh, he's a SEAL. This says he's a SEAL.
Was.
Oh, no. The Navy SEAL. Okay, so apparently, yeah. Navy SEALs, the official Navy SEALs website. Here we go. Mr. Rogers was not a Navy SEAL or a Scout Marine sniper. There's a great urban legend, 21st century, but is no more than a legend.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Fun fact with Fuller.
Holy crap.
You've been believing in conspiracy, man.
What? Oh, my goodness.
Ching.
So Mr. Rogers is really just a friendly Mr. Rogers.
He's just like, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Not, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Take my hand. Get to the chopper.
I don't know what to do with this. Wow.
Yeah. See?
Wow.
Sometimes I can just pull random facts right out of the air. I don't even have to prep.
That was out your butt.
Again.
Wow.
I do a lot of reading in my spare time.
Yeah, apparently, man.
All right.
I'm looking to see if there's any other ones. Nope, that's all we got. That's all we got time for. People ask us things about the top of the show for Instagram. Should we read the review or do some party cues? What do you think, boss?
Well, we ain't got no coffee.
I'm drinking water because last Friday we recorded, I was up till 3.
I drank my turmeric and ginger tea.
I have water finally.
And then
last episode I forgot the water.
Now I have yellow water.
So how about we read the review and just get into this conversation, my dude? Because I feel this is going to be a big one.
Well, it is. So this review, though, was great because we kind of teed it up with just the title last week. And what's garbage? Hot garbage.
Hot, spicy garbage. I think of the Dr. Pepper guy.
Hot garbage. Instead of Hot Pockets.
Hot Pocket, dude.
Yeah.
Hot Pockets aren't Hot Pockets. It's like literally from
lava
the gates
pockets.
of hell.
Lava pockets.
On the edge, but in the middle, it's cold. It's like lasagna. Dude, but I miss me some ham and cheese. Ooh, yeah. Some Philly cheesesteak.
Oh,
that was a good one.
In the little cardboard sleeve.
You put that mug in the microwave at school, and everyone was like, "Bro, you got Hot Pocket?" Like, yeah, bro, and I got popcorn.
You heard everybody going Hot Pocket,
dude. That was a vibe. But speaking of hot garbage,
yeah, you want to read this one?
Nah, boss, that's you. All right, should I read it because you're gonna talk the whole?
Go for it, man. Go for it.
All my settings just popped up. Hot garbage from Jessup 93. So apparently you were born in 1993. So
why don't you put on a little makeup?
If you were born in 93, you're almost 30. Holy crap.
That means you're still younger than Marc.
Shut up. I'm younger than Beth, though.
Boomer.
Okay, Zoomer.
Wow.
This podcast is like hot garbage to a raccoon. Where do you live? West Virginia?
Yeah, I love it.
I honestly love this podcast. I listen to 3 episodes per day at work. Keep up the good work, y'all.
This one had me rolling.
Is this girl, bro? I don't even know. Where the heck do you live? You West Virginia?
When I first read this, I was in tears with laughter.
Mama.
This podcast is like hot garbage to a raccoon.
Country road.
Country road, take me home. To the place I belong.
West Virginia.
Yeah, this is why we lost our sponsorship.
No, it wasn't because they outsourced their marketing department. They suck at emails. Oops.
Easy there, killer.
My bad.
Easy, killer.
So, but either way, you left us a review, Jessup93. So text us, emails with your names. We know who the heck you are.
Your name.
So we can hook you up with the mini swag bag so you can get a picture of our faces in the mail because it's actually a pretty dope little package. Let's just
it is. Yeah, it is.
But if you want a mini swag bag, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You might be thinking, Marc Fuller, I don't have an iPhone. I don't got Apple. I don't got nothing.
It ain't cost you nothing to.
Let's leave a rating on Spotify. Share the podcast with a friend. Let us know that you did all you can, you stinking Android users, you green text people, and we'll still send you one. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right, boss, let's jump in.
Let's dive it in. I'm going deep. Oh, sorry. We are really hyped up tonight, aren't we?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
So, this particular episode actually was inspired by R.C. Sproul I was listening to the other day. And he was covering the parable of the 10 virgins. And I was like, you know what? This is a parable that we should cover on the podcast.
I like it.
So the 10 virgins, let's dive in. Let's read the passage, right?
Oh, we're going to read the whole thing?
We're going to read Matthew 25, verses 1 through 13. That way we know what we're talking about here. So,
got my Lagos open.
Lagos. Oh, he's got the Greek open. Oh, no.
No, that's my CSB study Bible notes.
There you go. All right. So it says, at that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins. So prior to this, we're looking at Matthew 24. We're looking at what a lot of people see as things to come, right? The end. Is what Matthew 24 is covering. And so Matthew 25 is kind of leading into something similar, right? Another parable that's talking about.
Side note, starting in verse 14, the parable of the talents, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, we've talked about that one too.
We have. So it says, at the time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the groom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. When the foolish took their lamps, they didn't take oil with them, but the wise ones took oil in their flasks with their lamps. When the groom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. By the way, this is the CSB. In the middle of the night, there was a shout, "Here's the groom, come out to meet him." Then all the virgins got up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise ones, "Give us some of your oil, because our lamps are going out." The wise ones answered, "No, there won't be enough for us and for you. Go instead to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." When they had gone to buy some, the groom arrived, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the rest of the virgins also came and said, "Master, Master, open up for us." He replied, "Truly, I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore, be alert, because you don't know either the day or the hour." So, we're going to talk about what is this parable, this little...
Yeah, what's talking about why does it matter? I think
this
that's
little,
a good little
nugget here, right?
Yeah.
But before we can get into it, we need to have a little historical context.
Ooh, I like those. I need story time music on the pads.
When Christ is making a point in a parable, when any parable is given, we have to think about what was the time period, what was the culture,
historical
and
context.
who was he talking to, right? So we're going to take a brief pause on the parable to look at ancient Eastern wedding culture. And this comes from Biblical Hermeneutics Stack Exchange.
Sponsored by The Chosen. No, right?
No, it's not.
The Chosen has a really cool depiction, though.
They sure do. So, yeah, this is some biblical hermeneutics for you all. So, betrothal, there was 4 different parts of an ancient Eastern wedding culture. So first was the betrothal. The marriage covenant is established. A price for the bride is negotiated and paid by the groom to the bride's family. There were also some symbolic rituals involved, but those aren't so relevant to the question at hand. So some of those rituals were like the cup was shared between the groom would drink out of a cup and he would hand it to the bride. And if the bride accepted the betrothal process, she would drink from the cup.
Right.
Which is where we see a lot of the symbolic of this is my cup, or this is my body, which was broken for you. This is my blood, which is spilled out for you in the cup. Because this is where a lot of that symbolism comes from.
And the other thing, too, was covenants were a big deal in Jewish customs. You do not break a covenant.
Well, not only that, but they're huge with God, right? Because God is the one that established covenants.
Right, yep.
So, number 2 is preparation period. The betrothal period is similar to being engaged. They were not yet to unite sexually, and the bride wore a veil to signify her consecration to her husband-to-be. The husband returned home after being betrothed or engaged to prepare a home for the woman, and the woman made her preparations for marriage life as well. Often this would be about a year's worth of preparation. So the engagement for them was a year long, pretty standard procedure back then, right? A year long engagement because they were preparing. She was preparing.
But the difference, though, I think between this and American culture is they were preparing for marriage. They weren't preparing for a day.
Right. So what the preparations were, and I'm going to get into this real fast. So part of the preparations were the groom would typically go back to his father's house, which is where they would live, and he would build a wing onto
he went back to his father's house and prepared a place for her?
You're seeing some more symbolism here. So he'd go back and prepare a place for his new bride. And it would typically be at his father's house. They would build a separate wing or build up if there was no room to build out. The woman, on the other hand, an interesting article I'd read in some of I forget, it was a Jewish cultural blog. This rabbi wrote it about the Jewish culture back then.
Okay, cool.
And he said that she would actually start like sewing garments and like preparing her not only just her wedding garments, but like garments for the husband, and like just doing a lot of preparation for the household.
Right, because we have to remember back in those times, they didn't have all the modern tech that we do.
You're going to go to the store and just buy a line of clothing.
Like when we look at the OG, like homemakers, them girls were crazy.
They worked hard.
Right. It wasn't like they were just scrolling Instagram.
Right.
And like they were, not to hate on stay-at-home moms to do that, because I'm married to a stay-at-home mom and you're married to a stay-at-home mom.
Heck yeah, we
and
are. They're the best.
They're amazing. Thank you for making me meatloaf.
They're the best. And walking tacos.
Got it. But
that's the new thing.
I want more, man. They were so good. But it's a different time and different culture where it's not like you just throw your laundry in a washing machine. You don't throw your clothes in a dishwasher.
Right.
You even got modern tech. Like you had to grind to make your clothes, make the food, make things. Like it wasn't just make your home lovely. It was make your home just work.
Sure.
Right. It's different culture. So that's interesting. So she would prepare for the beginning of the marriage journey with her husband.
Right.
As well.
Correct. Right. Yeah, exactly. Garments to impress him with and things like that.
So with Mary and Joseph, I know this is not part of the conversation.
Sure.
Mother Mary, Father Joseph, they were betrothed. So they already went through the beginning.
Right.
The price of the bride, which is not like selling her off. It's the dowry.
And think about this, right? They
already made the covenant with one another.
Well, and part of that was she would wear a veil over her face whenever she was out in public and everything like that to cover her face as a sign of consecration to Joseph at the time.
Which means when Mary was found to be pregnant and then started showing, that's not good in the custom of the Jewish people.
That's a big deal. Yeah, because the bridal price was already paid typically. So... So number 3, the arrival of the groom. Okay. So once the groom finished his preparations, he would come to collect his bride. This was usually done at night, which isn't that funny? Like a thief in the night. And the groom would be accompanied by a wedding party, male escorts, and a best man, and they would carry torches to light the procession. The bride knew he would be coming, but would not know when exactly, hence needing to be prepared. So the groom would arrive with a shout to get the attention that they had arrived. See all this cool symbolism that we see from this, that we see in like Revelation?
Yeah, so here's my question. The bride knew he was coming, but didn't know exactly. I mean, there had to be like... There had to be some level of you knew he was coming within a couple days or weeks,
Again,
because you can't be standing out there with a...
Well, no. We go back to the preparation times usually took about a year. So you got to figure, all right, well, maybe if this guy worked day and night and got it done in 6 months, he might come early. But the cool thing is, it wasn't the son who decided when the preparation of the new household was
the father,
done. It was the father that decided when the groom could go and get the bride.
Oh, I'm seeing a lot of correlation here, man.
You see a lot of the correlation here, right?
If people don't know, it's the fact of we're the bridegroom of Christ.
Right.
And Jesus said, I don't know the hour when I come, but only the Father knows.
Right. Or like, you're going to have a shout of a trumpet when the return of Christ, and that's what we see here.
And this is why I don't believe in pre-trib. Everybody going to know when Jesus shows up, man.
So there's a lot of correlation here, right? There's a lot going on here. The father's the one that chooses. The groom goes to get his wife or his bride. The bride is constantly preparing herself every day. So they would go through like ritual cleansings and stuff like this to prepare herself. She would get in her wedding dress every single day.
Was it for the entire year?
Well, it's for a time period, right? Because you know that they're going to be a few months working, but during those few months, she's working on her dress, right? Every day she's preparing her dress. She's getting dressed. She's getting bathed. She's keeping herself clean. There's all these things going on to keep herself prepared for when the groom comes, because she doesn't know when the groom is going to be coming. And the groom doesn't know when he's coming because only the father can give the approval that the dwelling is
ready.
Is ready, right? So, number 4, wedding party. The bride, along with her female attendants, would accompany the groom back to his family home for a wedding celebration. After the procession walked back to the groom's family home, the bride and groom entered a wedding tent called a huppah to physically consecrate their marriage, while everyone involved waited and cheered. How'd you like that?
Literally, y'all went in and knocked boots, and everyone went like, yeah, get it, boss. Like, that's so...
You can do it.
Okay, fun fact, I had friends who their dad was Middle East, like actually grew up in the Middle East. He did this. They still do this.
Yeah, right. So then
legit, like people cheer. Like,
right.
That's awkward.
So there's 2 different thoughts here, right? Then the bride would either bring out the evidence of her virginity Or
we gonna talk about this?
Or the wedding party would go in and inspect and bring it out to show that she was.
If you're married, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Or the father of the bride would go in to show that his daughter was a virgin indeed. And
you make fun of me for not keeping the show PG, boss.
I'm just saying virginity here, okay? So
no, you wait.
So and their marriage was
too hyper.
So after that, their marriage was essentially finalized. This was followed by a week of feasting and celebration by the entire bridal party. So
literally, the feast couldn't happen until they.
Yeah, everybody had to wait.
Consecrated the marriage and proved, and they were like, "Yeah, let's get it now."
So typically, this was a smaller event, right? This was the smaller portion, and then everybody else was waiting at the feast, right? The bridal party and the family would be waiting at the consecration tent.
I got too many jokes, man. I gotta be quiet.
So,
okay.
Conclusion.
Okay.
In this parable, if one follows ancient Jewish wedding culture traditions, the 10 young women would be the bridal party, not additional brides. And we're going to talk about this later, but they were all supposed to go to the feast to celebrate once the groom arrived. In the parable, the groom arrived late, and half the wedding party was not prepared and had to go buy more oil for their lamps, and thus arrived late at the wedding celebration, and they were turned away at the door when they arrived late. It was worth noting that contextually, this parable appears to be building upon and amplifying what was taught in the previous parable, which was about the preparedness of the Lord's coming, with the analogy of marriage given.
Okay.
So that was from, a lot of it was the biblical hermeneutics stack exchange. Some of it was my thoughts and some of it was your thoughts.
And my laughs.
Yours were a lot more dirty than mine.
Facts are facts, my dude.
So who are the 10 virgins, right?
Okay.
This is the bridal party, right? The 5 wise, the 5 other wise. We'll just go ahead and skip down to, was this Jesus clearly teaching polygamy, right? Was he teaching polygamy in this?
Do people actually think about this with this passage?
People do, because there were 10 virgins, and, they were...
and the guy was coming for the 10 virgins.
Right.
And is he going after all 10 virgins?
Is he coming for the bride, which of the 10 virgins? There were 5 because we're the bride of Christ, right? And there were 5 not prepared, and they didn't get to go be in the wedding feast, and then there were 5 prepared, so they think that they were all going to be brides. So... according to Mr. John Piper, Desiring God, this is what he has to say about it. He said, first, Jesus is clear on what he thinks of a marriage is. It's rooted in God's design with Adam and Eve in Genesis 2. He says in Matthew 19:4, have you not read? He's referring back there to Genesis passage, Genesis 2:24, that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife. And the 2, not 10, shall become one flesh. Matthew 19:4-5. This parable is not about polygamy or I can't even say it tonight.
Monogamy?
Monogamy, thank you. It is not even about marriage. It's much more likely that we should see these 10 virgins as we would call bridesmaids. We don't know the details of how they did weddings among the Jews in those days, which we do have some idea just from ancient writings.
That's something I think we do, yeah.
Right. But it's easy to imagine the bride is at the house waiting at the feast in private, not seen yet. And the bridesmaids, their job is to run out to the bridegroom and bring him to the great feast to where the bride is waiting. Now, it's John Piper's, but there's so much evidence out there from so many ancient Jewish writings.
So I don't know why Piper would have said that.
Yeah.
But, with the 10 virgins, it's the simple fact of the matter is, if they were not allowed into the feast and the groom came to bring them into the feast, and they're not welcome into the feast, they're not welcome into the consecration tent, they're welcome into the feast of celebration. You know?
So what is the parable actually about, right? Is it about marriage?
Because I got questions.
Is it about, yeah, well, we're going to get into all this chit-chatty stuff here in a sec.
I got questions.
I'm just laying the groundwork. So what is the parable about? It's about preparedness, right?
Okay.
It's about being prepared. So in Reformed Bible Studies here, Ligonier.org, it says, in Jesus' parable, the bridegroom for whom the 10 virgins are waiting is the Savior himself, which we can all deduce. Jesus here is implicitly claiming to be God incarnate. The Old Testament often pictures the Creator as the groom, as his people, and his people as his bride. This is Isaiah 54, Hosea 2. The bridegroom's arrival is clearly taking longer than expected, for all 10 ladies fell asleep. That's Matthew 25, 2-5. This reveals that although we cannot know the exact time of his return, the fact that Jesus has tarried 2,000 years and counting is not unexpected. The foolish virgins are unprepared for the bridegroom, verses 8 through 13. They did not count the cost of being in the processional and did not ready themselves for its delay. Like many others, the foolish girls have not understood the price of discipleship, sacrifice, and forethought. Are required to stand in the day of trial and to be assured that one's faith is real. Ephesians 6, 2 Timothy 3, 1 John 5. Only the spiritually prepared, the wise virgins, will enter the kingdom. So what's the difference between the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins? Mm-hmm. This comes from gotquestions.org. See, I'm trying to give everybody else's opinion so we can have the conversation.
Part of it in Greek, too, if we keep using the term virgin, virgin also means, young maiden or young woman or...
Yeah, and
the bridesmaid,
that comes from, a lot of that comes from the Septuagint in the Hebrew.
Yep.
And that's where they say, okay.
Right, because you have, even in today's code, you have the maid of honor, but if they're married, it's technically the matron of honor,
Right. Yeah, so...
culture.
The differences between the two, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
The 5 virgins who had the extra oil represent the truly, this is from gotquestion.org, represent the truly born again who are looking with eagerness to the coming of Christ. They have saving faith and have determined that whatever occurs, be it lengthy time or adverse circumstances, when Jesus returns, they will be looking with eagerness. The 5 virgins without the oil, by the way, this is all speculative. The 5 virgins without the oil represent false believers who enjoy the benefits of the Christian community without true love for Christ. They are more concerned about the party than about longing to see the bridegroom. The party of the wedding feast. Their hope is that their association with the true believers, give us some of your oil, verse 8, will bring them into the kingdom at the end. This, of course, is never the case. One person's faith in Jesus cannot save the other. The Lord, Lord, and I do not know you of verses 11 and 12 fit very well with Jesus' condemnation of the false believers of Matthew 7, 21 through 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven will enter. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness.
So I got questions.
All right.
Because, when you first hear the passage and we're reading through it, it makes it sound like all these people are included in the wedding party.
Sure.
And then when you look at it for just face value, look at just face value, right? They're all part of the wedding party. They're all supposed to be part of this. The bride chose all of them. Yo, girls, let's go get it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, 5 were forgotten, but they were a part of the OG, and then the other 5 were welcomed in. Now, in some regards, I think it's fair to say that they were welcomed in by the groom also because of their relation to the bride.
Sure.
Not necessarily the other ones. But if we're supposed to be the bride of Christ, how is that supposed to reflect this passage? Because we're not one of the 10 virgins. The church is the bride of Christ.
Sure.
But then my other thought is if this is portraying us in the readiness for the groom to come back and receive his bride, which I guess would be the church. We just happen to make up the church.
Sure.
Are the 5 bridesmaids, virgins, were they part of the kingdom? Were they part of it and then lost it? Because they did not persevere to the end, which we talked about with eternal security when it came to the denominations episode. There's some people all true believers will persevere to the end. All traditions believe that. Mm-hmm. But some traditions say, well, if you don't make it to the end and then you die or Jesus comes back, well, then sorry, boss, you didn't make it to the end.
Right.
Whereas other people say the prodigal son, you fell away, you did your own thing, you were an idiot, but you were still part of God's family. So I think that's the big questions that I have is the fact of, aren't we supposed to be the bride of Christ, not the virgins?
So
and then how does that work with eternal security?
All right, let's start there with aren't we supposed to be the bride of Christ? So The thing about parables, right? What's the one hermeneutical textual criticism rule about reading parables? Do you know it?
It's an earthly story with a heavenly meaning.
Yes, but there's always typically one meaning, right? And
there's one central truth. If we
try to symbolize every single part,
we can get lost in the weeds.
We can get lost in the weeds. So what's the purpose of this parable? Let's start there.
Preparing for the groom to come.
Okay, so not all parables and examples in each parable always translate in with each other, right?
Right.
So
and when you look, and again, I mean, I know I'm partially answering my own question, but then when you jump to the next part,
the 10 talents.
Yeah, it says, "For is just like a man about to go onto a journey, he called his own servants." And the whole point of that passage is more the fact of, did you do well with what God gave you? And when he showed back up, were you able to give account for that?
Right.
You know, they're both pointing to the simple fact of, when Jesus shows up, are you ready for the master to come?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if we look at, I just want to read a couple headlines from
Walking Taco just popped back up.
A couple headlines from Matthew 24 here, right?
Okay.
So this is being talked about before chapter 25. The destruction of the temple predicted, signs of the end of the age, persecutions predicted, the great tribulation, the coming of the Son of Man, the parable of the fig tree, no one knows the hour of the day, faithful service to Christ. And that's kind of what I want to hit on. Verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master has put in charge of his household to give them food at the proper time? Blessed is the servant whom the master finds doing their job when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will put him in charge of all of his possessions. But if that wicked servant says in his heart, my master is delayed, and starts to beat his fellow servants and eats and drinks with drunkards, that servant's master will come on the day he does not expect him, and in an hour he does not know. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So if we look at 45 through 51 of Matthew 24, what do you think that is saying?
Ask that question again, because I was reading.
Sorry. So we're talking about faithful service to Christ, right? The master and the servant. Master goes away. Master doesn't come back when the servant thinks he's going to. He starts to beat his fellow servants. Eats and drinks with the drunkards. The servant's master comes back on a day he didn't expect him to, and finds him doing this stuff. He cuts him to pieces and assigns him a place with the hypocrites, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What is the point of that parable? Preparedness.
Yeah, it's the fact of you didn't care.
Follow and be an obedient servant.
Right. I think some of it, I mean,
so I think
a physical truth could also go into integrity too, because what's integrity is doing what's right even when no one's looking. And this guy wasn't doing right when no one was looking. When God showed up, he's like, "Oh crap." Christ
went away to prepare a place for us, right? That's what he says, right? Tying back into the whole marriage thing. Mm-hmm. Christ has gone away to prepare a place for us, but has given us a command to be faithful servants at this time, right? So we're supposed to be faithful servants, carrying out the good news and making disciples, right? That was our mandate. That was the last mandate that was given to the disciples. We are disciples of Christ as well, and disciples of the apostles, because that's who taught us. And so we just carry on this mandate, right? So there's an obedience factor, and are we going to be caught sleeping when the bridegroom comes?
When the bridegroom,
not be having
your rose be white.
Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
There you go.
I had to think about that. Are you ready, right? Mm-hmm. Are you ready for when Christ returns? Are you doing the things that you're supposed to be doing as a follower?
And that's where the next one goes into the fact of, a sign of encouragement is we've all been given different things. So what are you doing with what God gave you till you arrive?
This is why he follows it up, follows the 10 virgins, I think, with the 10 talents. Mm-hmm. That's why he follows that one up, right? Because so he's telling us there's a roadmap here. If you take the point of each parable, you can see the roadmap. Be obedient to Christ. Be prepared because you don't know when he's coming. And then take what God has given you, the responsibility, and do it well, right? Multiply it. So there's a roadmap here going on. So the thing is like a lot of people go, well, not being, how do we not be caught off guard? How do we not have no oil in our lamp, or not to forget to bring? And I think there's a couple things that we can do. One is pursue Christ-likeness. Ready yourself for suffering and work faithfully for Christ.
Ooh, okay, yeah, go into those a little bit, man.
And these things, some of these things come from Desiring God, John Piper again, and then I added some of my own stuff in here as well. So John Piper says, first, the impulse that comes from the glorious prospect of seeing the Lord. John 3:2-3 says, "Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared. But we know that when he appears at the second coming, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is. And everyone who has thus hope is in him purifies himself as he is pure. If you want to really be like Jesus by seeing him when he comes, you'll pursue being like him now. Mm-hmm. So think about the psychological dynamics of those verses. When he says everyone who thus hopes in him, he's referring to hoping to be like him. When he appears, we shall be like him, or whoever thus hopes in him, hoping to be like him will purify himself now. So the point is, if you really want to be like him by seeing him when he comes, you'll pursue being like him now, and you will. So the impulse of becoming a radically pure, holy, living, sacrificial, Christ-like person now is the intense hope and desire for that to happen when he comes and when we see him. That's our first impulse, right? Mm-hmm. That's what John Piper says. I want to follow that up with a couple scriptures. So Matthew 16, 24 through 28 says, Then Jesus said to his disciples, If anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me will find it. And what will it benefit someone if he gains the whole world, yet he loses his own life? Or what will anyone give in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will reward each according to what he has done. Truly I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of the Man coming in his kingdom. Which we can debate over that last verse. People have for a long time. Mm-hmm. But what are we seeing here? Christ's call for us to pick up our cross and follow him, to deny ourselves and to follow him, to not worry about the world and our life in the world, but to deny that, right? To become more Christ-like. Romans 12, 1 through 2 says, Therefore, brothers and sisters, in view of the mercies of God, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true worship. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. So again, being transformed in our mind to be more like Christ, to see God's will. This is what we should be striving for, presenting ourselves as a living sacrifice. This is giving up our life, the same thing that Christ was saying in Matthew 16. And Colossians 3, 1 through 4 says, So if you have been raised with Christ, seek the things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. For you died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. Again, becoming Christ-like, putting our minds on things above and the things that Christ would have us do.
You know, it kind of sounds like that whole illustration of, like with sports and with other things. A lot of times people slack off and they're like, "Oh, when game time comes, I'll be ready."
Yeah.
And so many times it's like, "Nah, bro, you practice like
now,
you play,
right.
And then you play like you practice."
Right.
Or there's so many times where it's like, "Oh, you know what? When almost like even like a play, like you do the rehearsal, you do the dress rehearsal. Like, oh no, when it's game time, I always nail it. Like when it's time to do the big performance, we'll always nail it.
Right.
And I think we have a tendency for us to just as humans be lazy in a lot of different aspects. Right. When our boss ain't looking, or when push comes to shove, we'll do something. But so many times, we think of, oh, when the time comes, I'll stand for Jesus. Or it's like, when the need arises, I'll give my money to Jesus. When the time comes, I'll give my time and I'll serve for Jesus. When the time's right, I'll get married, have kids, foster, adopt, serve, all these different things. We like to use these excuses of like, oh, when the time's right, I'll do it.
Right.
And so many times we use that as an excuse to be lazy, when Jesus is like, no. Follow me right now.
Right.
Like it comes down to it, of follow me right now. Wow. Because if you don't follow me right now, who knows if you really do follow Jesus, or you'll be ready to follow when the time is right. Before we went live on this episode, we were kind of talking about, I want you to speak into it, kind of like that litmus test of, are you truly a follower of Jesus? And, we were having that conversation, and you brought up a really cool point of, anything that we truly love, if Jesus came back and said, I want you to give that up right now, follow me, would you do it? Mm-hmm. And I think that there's so many times where we just live our lives, which is really easy to do, not thinking of, is Jesus coming back? Because it's easy to forget. It's
Right.
easy to just go on with our lives. And, we have work, we have school, we got to get the kids, we got to pack some lunches, we got after school, we got sports, we got friends, we got hanging out. That new movie coming out, we got concert to go to. Like
Notre Dame's playing.
We're playing Marshall, by the way, this upcoming week. We better not lose. And only history will time will tell. But we have all these different things, and so many times we focus on what's right here, right now. And I'm talking about me personally.
Me too.
Of just looking at my life and going, am I living for Jesus right now? Where when He will come back, will He look at me and be like, bro, what you doing?
Right.
Like, seriously, what the heck are you doing?
If Christ came back today, would I be okay with the way I'm living to present myself and be accountable for what I'm doing?
And there's something to be said, and I don't want to stray too far off of the 10 virgin conversation because it's just being prepared. But I do think, our lives were all given different things. Like some people are given 1 talent, some are given 5, some are given 10. And if you're only given 1, that's not an excuse to do nothing with it and go bury it. But it's also not something to be ashamed of where it's like, well, man, like I hear people all the time in like, okay, here's an example in podcast space, right? Mm-hmm. So we love our podcast. We love our show. We reach, thousands of people every single week. We have to be accountable for that, for what we teach and what we do.
Right.
But then there's other podcasts where they only reach like 50 people every episode or 20 people.
But they still have to be accountable.
Exactly. Because what are you doing with what you've been given? Are you been slacking in what you've been given? Because some people might look at, man, y'all are RTC, y'all big potatoes. Like y'all got what's going on. Then we turn around and go, no, we're not. Like
2 dudes in the basement.
Like 2 dudes in the basement. We're just hanging out, having a good time, and y'all want to hang out with us too. So we all have to give an account and be answerable for what we do, but that doesn't change the preparedness of what, like the 10 virgins where they were waiting, and they weren't just waiting because we have to look at the 5 unwise ones too.
Right.
They were not unwise for waiting. They were unwise to wait for a while.
And exactly right. That's the point, right? Is that they were prepared for a short time.
They were prepared. They're like, yeah, let's go.
But they didn't prepare for the marathon.
It's almost like the parable of the sower. Like, there were like the seeds that grew really fast, and then they were scorched by the heat. There were some that the birds carried away, the rocky soil where they grew, but then they didn't last for a long time.
Right.
And that the point of that parable is a little bit different, different context. But it's also scary because I look at this and then I go, okay, what does this have to do with salvation? Because they were ready, they were prepared, they just didn't make it to the end. So did they have a commitment to follow Jesus? And then they were like, they walked into that relationship like, yeah, I want to do this. And then they were like, man, I'm dipping out.
Or were they just, like, doing the fake it till you make it? Like, I'm part of it because I like the social experiment of Christianity.
Like GodQuestions.org talks about that. Like they're part of the faith community. They're part of the local body. It's just like, yeah, I'm part of the church and the mission and the like, whoop, whoop, let's go get it.
Right.
But they're really not. And I think that's where sometimes our theology can stump us to what just seems to be in the reality. Like sometimes we go, oh, are they saved or really not? Where it's like, what's the matter is, are you being one of the wise virgins?
Right. Are you being Christ-like? Are you doing what our mandate is, right? And that's the big, are we being the good Madam Secretary? There you go, bro.
I love me some Madam Secretary.
All right.
I just had another walkie-talkie burp. You know how we were just talking about Tower Heist the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, no, before we started recording, how we both love that movie.
Yep.
I also watched that just because Madam Secretary's in that movie.
Right.
Well, I always forget how to pronounce her name.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I don't remember either. But anyway, so how can we prepare to not be caught off guard?
All right.
Pursue Christ-likeness now.
So that's the first thing, right?
No idea what Madam Secretary has to do with that, but pursue it now.
Right. But so the second thing is ready yourself for suffering.
This one I didn't.
Let me follow it up, right?
Yeah, follow it up with this one.
I'll read what John Piper's just like a little excerpt, and then I got some things I want to say.
All right, let's do this.
So he said, so the implication is that 1, we should get ready for the Lord's coming by being spiritually and mentally alert to satanic deception and false teaching, which we see, right? We see false teaching has been happening since, Christ was here.
Yep.
2, we should be completely submitted to the word of God rather than being lawless or self-willed. And 3, we should be cultivating strong faith and sovereign goodness of God so that we can endure to the end through whatever suffering comes our way. So I wanted to follow it up with John 15:18 through 25. If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it will love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you. A servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. But this is to fulfill what was written in the law. They hated me without reason. So the reason why I bring this in, sometimes it is very hard to be a Christian, right? Sometimes you just kind of want to be accepted by your peers in the world. Not necessarily be like, yeah, I just want to go out and get high and rape and pillage and do all this stuff and be like the world, right? No, but it's the little stuff, right?
No,
it's the day-to-day grind stuff. You're at work and you just want to fit in, so you laugh at that dirty joke or you make a dirty joke yourself. Or, and is that being a good representative of Christ? No, but if we be a good representative of Christ, we're probably going to be ridiculed and laughed at, and that's a part of suffering, right? For a lot of people, that is a form of suffering, is that I want to be accepted, right? We all struggle. Well, I say we all. I struggle, and I'm sure there are others that struggle with me, of you want to be accepted and loved, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody likes rejection and hate. No, I cannot think of a single person that I've ever met in my life that goes, yep, I'm all good with rejection and hate. No, it hurts, right? We are made with emotions. And I think this is a good thing, right? Because God himself, I believe, is sorrowful and mourns the rejection and hate he gets.
It says we can grieve the Holy Spirit.
Right. Well, but, think about how many people over history have hated and rejected God and how he must feel, right? I'm sure it doesn't feel good to him because he made us, and I'm sure we have similar emotions to him.
We're made in God's image,
right? So to me, it's a form of suffering, right? And we may suffer in other ways. We may suffer from, some of our brothers and sisters being persecuted. That's a form of suffering. But for like me, this was a big thing that spoke to me about suffering in my life of standing apart from the world, right? Because we are to look different from the world. We're supposed to go against the current, as the chosen would say. We're supposed to look different. We're supposed to be the salt and the light. And darkness is always going to try to overtake the light, but it never can. But it's a form of suffering. So
yeah, in that Facebook group that we have, RTC fam, one of my good he's married to let's back it up. Heather and Steve, one of the sweetest people you ever, just ooze with sweetness and kindness. And if you just sit and talk with Steve for like 15 minutes, the world was at his fingertips. And then at like a 20-something-year-old, he had kidney failure, dialysis, all the different things. And he had this thing that the quote that he kind of thought of when he was sitting there getting dialysis as a 20-year-old. He said, if you can take your biggest hurdle in life and use it to help others overcome theirs, you have answered the question of why me?
Right.
And him, while in dialysis, asking, why me?
Right.
And and it points back to that verse in 2 Corinthians where it's like, I've gone all through all these things and therefore I can come alongside you and help you as well. That doesn't take away the pain. That doesn't take away the suffering. But we have to know, because of the curse of the fall, because of sin, because of just other people out there, we will deal with different types of hurts. But as a Christian, we also have to expect to be persecuted. Now, we shouldn't be one of those people where it's like, I'm going to go be a jerk in Jesus' name because people won't hate me anyway.
Bible thumping everybody.
Bible thumping, Bible thumping, pew hopping, devil stumping.
See, you say hopping. I've always heard Bible thumping, pew jumping.
Pew jumping, my bad.
Devil stomping. Baptist.
Hey, man. But with this, we're going to suffer just as humans. So I think it's helpful to, like you said, we know we're going to suffer from natural causes. We're going to suffer from our own decisions, but we're also going to suffer because, like we talked about with the devil, he's roaring around like a lion, seeing who can devour. He hates God, so therefore you think he's going to hate his people.
You're tying it back into last week.
I love it. But if we prepare knowing, and that's why the Apostle Paul says, so therefore, gird up your loins, like tie up your skirt, basically was what it really meant back then. But put on the armor of God and be ready to fight. Like be ready to go because that's just the world we're in. So to help keep ourselves alert for Jesus, we got to pursue Jesus and Christ-likeness now. Be ready for suffering.
And then the final thing is work faithfully for Christ. And Piper says, be ready for the second coming is the impulse to be found faithful and vigilant in our particular calling. Over and over and over in the New Testament, we are told to be watchful, to be awake, to be ready. What does this mean? I think the parable of the 10 virgins is a good illustration of what it means. To watch means to do your job really well for Christ's sake. They had an assignment. Have your lamps, have oil. Respond to the announcement when it's given. Light the way of the bridegroom in. And they did their job just the way they should, and they entered in. They were morally, spiritually, and you might say professionally awake. They did their job the way God meant for them to do it. And he goes on at the end of the article to say, so let your life be guided by 1, the impulse that comes from the prospect of seeing the Lord, 2, the impulse that comes from the necessity of suffering, and 3, the impulse to be found faithful, vigilant, full of love to Christ in our particular callings. And then we will hear him say, enter into the joy of your master.
So wrap this up for us, though, man, because I don't want to keep going too long.
So, yeah, my final thought, and I'll just leave it at this, is how can we be prepared? And part of that is just know Jesus and don't just believe, right? So James 2:19 says, you believe that God is one. Good. Even the demons believe, and they shudder. Matthew 7:21 through 23 says, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, drive out demons in your name, and do miracles in your name? And then I will announce them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you lawbreakers. And John 14:6 through 7 says, Jesus told him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you know me, you will also know my Father. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. So here's the 3 things I want you to take out of those 3 things, right?
Okay.
1, if you just believe, well, that doesn't mean anything.
That don't mean jack squat.
Because even the demons believe and they shudder. Everybody who claims to be a Christian, Lord, Lord, I've done all these things in your name, doing good works, does not mean that they are saved. They have to know him. He said, depart from me, I never knew you. And John 14 says, look, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, Jesus said. If you know me, you know the Father. So it's about knowing Jesus, not just about believing in him, but having that relationship. And we see in James that he says, was it James or 1 Peter? I can't remember. I always get these screwed up. You show me your faith without works, but I'll show you my faith by my works,
James.
right?
That's James.
James, okay. So
1 Peter's living hope.
There you go. So that's the thing, right? Is that if we truly know Christ, it's going to drive a reaction from us. But only we know if we truly know Christ, because you can fake the reaction for a while. And you can be the 5 unwise virgins and be like, yeah, I'm prepared, and kind of slack off and not do everything that we're supposed to do. And then be left out of the processional party because we have to be off doing other things. And I think
cultural Christianity kind of hinders that a little bit too, where the fact of we all just go like we live in South Bend, the greatest Catholic area all in Northwest Indiana. And all the times like, you're a Christian. Yeah, I was baptized. Like I'm part of the church, but
right.
They have nothing about their faith. And then you talk to a lot of Protestants as well. It's like, do you know Jesus? Like, yeah, I show up at church. I throw a little offering in the plate. It's just kind of what we do. It's a cultural thing.
Right.
But I think this patch is what we're hearing about is the fact of it can't just be a cultural thing. We can't just hope to be part of the group, but we have to be awake, alert, prepared, ready to go for and understand to go for the grind.
At any moment, right?
There's also that verse, I'm trying to remember what the passage was, but it's the fact of the wise builder knows the plans before he builds it. Like he knows he can finish the project before he starts. Mm-hmm. And I think for us as Christians, we need to understand that too. The fact of grace was costly for Jesus, but it's free for us, freely given, but cost him everything.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we don't have to do anything either. It's not the fact that we earn our salvation.
No.
It's not the fact that we have to, fake it till we make it. It's the fact of Jesus says, fall on me, you broken sinners, and I'll pick you up and give you rest.
Right.
And if we lean into that and we understand it and we're prepared for it and we're looking, literally the joke, when the bridegroom cometh, may your robes be white. Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Right.
Or you think of in Christ alone and, get to gaze on his face. And I think this is where the beauty of of being a part of the local church comes in, because if we have songs that intentionally point us to Jesus for remembrance, if it's fellowship with other believers, whether it's small group connection, Sunday school, podcast, whatever, and then set underneath the teaching of God's word, that helps us keep our minds and eyes and ears focused on the fact that Jesus is coming back. But at the same time, we got to go out and do the work. We got to go out and do the kingdom, and not devil stomping, Bible thumping, door knocking. Like, maybe that's your ministry. That's cool. Go for it. But what are we called to do? I think there's something to be said about the vocation of vocation of ministry. The fact of we're all called to do certain things in different contexts.
Right.
What are we doing in our context to do that? And then, like what it said, light the way for other people.
Right.
And so with this passage, there still are some struggles that I'm like, man, but the 5 that were left out in the cold, like they were ready, they were prepared, they actually had their lamps, they actually had their oil, they just weren't ready for as long as it was going to take. But I think that's a warning that we need to heed.
Well, I think that's why Paul said we need to run our race well.
And I think the other thing too that we have to remember is it's our race. We don't need to compare it to Billy Graham. We don't need to compare it to John Piper, John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul.
Nope.
Christian Fuller. We need to run our race that is set
Marc,
before
Hyde.
us. It's a hard race, guys. You have to run your race that's set before you. And some people, like my father, who was taken home to glory early. There's other people, like my grandfather, whose homeboy's still kicking. And both of them love Jesus and followed after Jesus. Every one of us just has a different race, and we're all called to run it and run it well.
Right.
But that doesn't give us the excuse to not be alert.
Right. Exactly.
Any other thoughts before we end this thing, my friend?
No, I think you ended it perfectly.
Cool.
Man.
Let's do some fun thoughts. How about fun facts?
Time for Fun Facts with Filler.
You saw final thoughts.
Yeah,
and you
I
said
did.
Fun thoughts.
Yeah, I did.
Fun
Let's just be honest, though.
with Marc Hyde.
We've done this this is episode 168. But we've done over 170 episodes.
Right.
Bro, it's still an awkward transition sometimes into a fun fact.
Yeah, right.
So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. My dude.
All right.
You have only repeated a fun fact one time on this show on accident.
Once.
You gonna keep the streak going of
it's hard
keep
to
pulling them out?
It's hard to keep track of which ones I've used at this point.
I feel like you need to start theming. I'm like, hey, here's the Star Wars for this month. Fun facts. Here's the fun facts of the month about animals. Here's the ones about humans.
Here's the fun fact about Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Did you know spending just a few months in Antarctica can shrink your brain? Yeah. So if you've ever taken a trip to Antarctica, be sure to do so as much socializing as you possibly can and come up with a stimulating way to keep yourself busy. Research published in the New England Journal of Medicine in December 2019 explained the brain imaging in 8 polar expeditioners before and after 14 months of isolation showed that the volume of hippocampal dentate gyrus was
holy cow, that was a word.
Was lower than that in controls. IFL Science notes that researchers believe the changes in the brain they observed are a result of environmental monotony and prolonged isolation. So your brain actually shrinks when you're in isolation.
Is there something to be said then about like older people in retirement homes about it's better to be in community and like do Sudoku puzzles and brain sharpen and whatnot? Because if you just sit, it's going to turn to mush. Like I'm honestly asking the question. Yeah. I don't know if that's part of that whole research.
Could
I don't
very
know.
well be.
That's kind of a sad fact. Oh, who's the picture of that kid on your tablet?
That is a friend's baby.
Oh,
it's actually a friend of Janelle's baby.
I was about to say, like, that's another Folder baby.
No
more Folder babies.
No,
there's another Hyde baby coming.
There's
and
another
it's a
Hyde.
boy.
It's Bob had a baby.
Elliot wants to name it Bracky Jr. Bracky is his stuffed animal Brachiosaurus that he sleeps with every night called Bracky. He was called Bracky Jr. I'm like, that's not.
I may be partial, but the best name ever would be like Fuller Hyde.
Fuller Hyde.
Fuller Hyde.
But bro, we already got Fuller Hyde. How about we need to do a tribute to like grass fairies and like and grizzly bears, you know?
What if we called him Weird Al Hyde?
I mean, if he has hair like mine, there's a good chance if he lets it grow long. I'm still trying to figure out where Shiloh gets his curly hair from, man.
From you, bro. Osmosis.
I'm very confused. Osmosis.
You touched Janelle one time and it transferred over.
I gave her a hug. And then
you gave her a high five and it was like, there goes the curly hair.
Either way, guys, we know that you guys think that we're absolutely nuts and dumb and all these kind of fun things.
Because we are.
But we are hot garbage to a raccoon to some of y'all. So we are so thankful for the RTC community and you guys joining us week in and week out. Connect with us over on Instagram or Facebook. Interact with the posts, message us, comment on them, share the stuff, be part of the Facebook group, the online community over there. And we would love to just help, not just see the community grow just for our own sake, but so that way we can keep encouraging other people along the way.
Definitely. And don't forget to head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification.
Got you.
So that whenever we do little special stuff like giveaways and maybe Christmas stuff, other things like that, you guys could be notified. Maybe we'll do a YouTube-only special Christmas giveaway.
That's up to you, boss. That's completely up to you.
You know me. I like giveaways.
100%.
So,
and also, if you're listening to Apple iTunes, please leave a rating review. It helps more people find the podcast. Spotify, anywhere else, leave a rating over there. And if you can't do any of those, just share this episode with somebody you know needs it. Hit us up at realtalkchristianpodcast.com to find any episode or question you have. Play it full. That's all I got, my friends.